Welcome to the Pitcher Nail Down. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay, taking a look at pitching for FanDuel and DraftKings tonight. And, you got some steep arms up there as far as pricing goes. Obviously, Chris Sale comes in. But a lot of guys were kind of not used to seeing price so highly, I guess. Well, maybe just one, and that's Jeff Samardzija.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few confusing prices. Obviously, Strasburg has the name and the ability in the past, but I mean, he hasn't really been the super stud that sort of it makes his price a little peculiar tonight for me. But I mean, this is the world we live in now, so we just gotta adjust, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, 12,900 is steep by Strasburg stands. I mean, usually we see him in that 10 to 11 range. I can't recall really seeing him at 12.9. But I mean, the way he's pitched this season, I mean, I can't knock it, I guess. But
he's been solid, But
yeah, I mean,
sir, you better be getting 30, 40 points a game.
I mean, he's no Clayton Kershaw, but who is?
Yeah.
Tonight's slate, I think it's all about paying up. Looking at a lot of these guys lower, there isn't a ton of intriguing options for me.
I think there's some punts you can throw in there, but other than that, you're not super confident in any of these guys.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And just a 9-game slate here, and looking at the first game, Braves and Pirates, over-under of 8, Pittsburgh -163, Jeff Locke, Mike Foltynewicz there for Atlanta. Neither of these guys really intrigue me. I know the Atlanta Braves offense is obviously very bad, a bottom 3 offense, but Locke, I have no confidence in him despite the matchup getting any sort of production out of him.
And he's got that lefty on lefty in the top 3 in the order, but again, you just can't trust him right now. I don't really see him as even a tournament player right now.
Yeah, he's had some good spots before. Obviously, oddly, his best game came at Coors this season. But overall, this guy has been shelled for the most part this season outside that Coors start.
Right.
6,200, obviously, it's intriguing, especially when you compare him up with a guy like Sale and 69 on FanDuel. But I just can't. I can't get behind him at all.
Yeah, we're on the same page there.
Yeah, and Foltynewicz on the other side, I know he's had a couple of good starts, but a FIP over 4, I think regression's starting to come. He's still being hit hard by lefties, and I know this Pittsburgh team doesn't have a ton of left-handers, but still, Jaso, Polanco, tough to pick on them.
Tough lineup for him. So if I'm making 10, I might throw him in one on DK, but pure punt at this point. I don't think you're really expecting more than, honestly, 13 to 15.
Yeah,
against that Pirates lineup.
Yeah. Nationals and Mets here. Steven Strasburg, Matt Harvey, over under 6.5. Washington -115 favorites. So not necessarily a win in the factors for either of these guys. It's pretty close to a pick. The pricing difference on DK and really FanDuel, between these two guys, it's quite a big difference. I think it puts Harvey in as far as GPP territory.
Right. I think with price considered, I might even lean Harvey a little bit. You look at Vegas, they're both not looking to do much in terms of hitting, and I just think both of these matchups are pretty good, but when you look at Harvey, price difference is so huge. So I think he's definitely take a look at him for tournaments. FanDuel, I think I'm probably playing Sale over both of these guys.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And this Nationals team outside of Murphy and Harper, not that strong. You put those two in, they're still ranked 24th in WOBA against right-handers this season, 21% strikeout rate. Harvey's looked better of late. At that price tag, it's rare you get an 8,500 Harvey on FanDuel. I think it's an excellent tournament play just because you can still get that monster upside, and you can now fit a ton of bats in as well. So it's just kind of a double factor that really puts him into play there.
True.
So, and Straw's on the other side. Obviously still in play against this Mets team. The Mets have been good against right-handed pitching this year. But overall, a pretty high strikeout rate, 22.1%. Strasburg's K rate's through the roof this year, so I definitely don't mind him. I think he's more of a GPP play for me as well. I still prefer Sale.
Yeah, I agree. I think Strasburg is going to have to outscore Harvey by a significant amount for him to sort of reach that value. So the upside is clearly there, but I do think it's a risk at that price.
Yeah. Next game, you have the Indians and Reds in Great American Ballpark.
Mm.
8.5 over under. Josh Tomlin, yes, he looks like he's great, 5-0, 3.82 ERA this season. But overall, I mean, the guy doesn't miss many bats anymore. Um, he allows a ton of home runs. I think in that ballpark, he's in for some trouble tonight.
And these teams have just been beating each other up. I think the wise decision and kind of you've been seeing this throughout, even yesterday. You just stay away from these teams right now. You just avoid the series for pitching. And these two pitchers tonight aren't ones that I see breaking the trend of sort of the scoring rush.
Yeah, I definitely don't either. I mean, in that ballpark, these two arms,
Mm-hmm.
you look at that Indians lineup, heavily left-handed against Edelman. Tomlin, I mean, big home runs per 9 guys. So I think really, I mean, this is going to be a kind of a game to really target for offense.
Yeah.
Next one, you got Rockies and Cardinals, John Gray, Michael Waka. Over under a 7.5 here, St. Louis, minus 134 favorites. I really like Gray as a GPP play tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has huge upside. I mean, obviously his ERA is inflated just because he's pitched in cores, but overall, I mean, tough on lefties. It's been very tough on right-handers as well. Coming off really 2 great starts to where he really did figure it out in cores. I think there's just a lot to like with this guy.
Totally agree. It's a tough Cardinals lineup, but I think he's been playing really well lately. And based on his salary, I think this could really pay off.
Yeah, I think you look at that Cardinals team, it's gonna keep his ownership low, but 6,900 on FanDuel definitely worth a single bullet. And 8,500 is not bad either. You just look at what he's done. I mean, 30% strikeout rate, 12.2 swinging strike, great ground ball rate of 50%. So, I mean, 2.58 SIERA is a solid number for a Colorado pitcher there.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
So,
And I mean, Walker hasn't been a lock this year, so I think there's a decent chance at a win here too. I think there's quite a bit of upside for tournaments with him on pretty much all slates.
yeah, I definitely agree. And I mean, 7,200 on DK, it's a nice SP2 price just because you look at this Colorado team and, they rank in the bottom 5 in WOBA over the last 2 weeks. And I mean, you get these bats outside of cores and they have significant splits really, really outside of Arenado, but even he takes kind of a small drop, even still being an elite hitter. So overall, I mean, we were looking at last night as possibly Wainwright going up against this team and weren't really a fan of his, and Walk has been far better than Wainwright has this year.
That's true.
So next one here, we have the big one, Astros and White Sox over under 7.5, Chicago minus 190 favorites. Obviously, Chris Sale 8-0 has won his first 8 starts, and I think Vegas is expecting him to get to 9-0. He's been lights out. I mean, he hasn't been the big strikeout guy, but
yeah,
he hasn't really needed to be. And I think this Houston team is actually going to help him in that department just because they have that monster strikeout rate against lefties, 25.7% this year. So I think Sale can dial it up. The price tag on DraftKings is a little crazy to me. 13,800. I know he's been good, but that's steep. I mean, but Sale's going to force me to pay that tonight.
I think you have to pay for it in cash. It's just such an automatic 25 to 30 points, even against this Astros team. He's just been so consistent, even without the strikeouts. And like you mentioned, Astros have a pretty high strikeout rate against lefties. So maybe there's a little more upside than we even think. As long as he can get through that top 3, I do think he can rack up some strikeouts tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And a win seems heavily in order as well. So you get that bump. And I mean, he's pitching deep into games. I mean, outside of 1 start this year, it's 7 innings and later. So that pitch to contact that he's kind of doing with and still dialing up about 6.5 strikeouts per game. It all comes together and he's still kind of one of those elite guys.
Yeah.
McHugh on the other side, he's just struggled far too much in this White Sox team. I actually really, really like the hitters tonight from their side, so McHugh's a guy I'm staying away from.
Yeah, definitely staying away from him, unfortunately. Tough night for Conor McGregor's brother.
Blue Jays and Twins here. Marco Estrada, Irvin Santana. Toronto minus 134 favorites, over under of 8. In target field, Estrada kind of an interesting SP2 option at 8,100. Kind of offers a little bit more safety as far as Gray goes, just because he's in a little bit easier matchup. I definitely don't mind that price tag. I think SP2 is kind of where he only falls for me tonight.
Yeah, I actually do like him and Gray tonight as sort of tournament guys. I think I'm pretty comfortable with one of them doing really well. So I do like this matchup for him. I don't think this Twins lineup is too strong. So I think he has a good chance of getting 15 to 20 points.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. I mean, Toronto small favorites there, so you got to like that. And obviously getting out of the Rogers Center, I mean, in a target field, a little bit bodes well for Estrada, who can be a little bit home run prone at times. But overall, I mean, he's been fairly tough on right-handers, so I definitely don't mind him against this heavy right-handed team. On the other side here, you got Irvin Santana. I know this Jays offense hasn't been really that great this season, but Irvin Santana, he's grouped around too many other guys that I like far better.
Yeah, I'd just rather pay up for Estrada or go Gray. I mean, I don't think you're gonna gain enough with the value of paying up for or paying down there to sort of get the hitters you want to even that out. Just too much risk for me.
Yeah, definitely. And next one here, you got the Giants and Padres in Petco, over under a 7. San Francisco minus 140 favorites there. Jeff Samardzija, James Shields. Samardzija has been, pitching excellent this year, and you look at the price tag, it's not something you want for a guy like Samardzija, but in a great spot just because you look at Petco Park, the Padres. I mean, it all kind of lines up in the way he's been pitching of late. I don't mind him tonight. I don't mind spinning down, but I still think he definitely kind of pay up for sale.
Right.
But just 11.8 is a little steep for me, but I can see the reasoning behind it to fit in an extra bat or two.
And that's the issue, especially in a cash game. Are you going to play Sale and Samardzija, even though Samardzija is way overpriced? And then you're really suffering with your lineup. So like the other day when it was Kershaw and Bumgarner, you're okay with that because they're both great pitchers and great spots. But this is a little overpriced for Samardzija. So tournament arm for sure. But I don't necessarily trust the high upside for him tonight, even against the Padres team.
I think if he was kind of in that Harvey range of 9,700 or even like 10-3 or something like that, I feel much more comfortable with it. But yeah. But I mean, I agree. I think, as you mentioned, I mean, that was a completely different slate with Kershaw and Bumgarner. It was a full slate. It was, 14, 15 games. So you had value across the board. Now we're shrinking it down to 9. And you essentially take out a hitter's game there with the Mets and Nats there, just because you're not taking any hitters. That's completely off the board.
Right.
So different one. I mean, Samardzija is just kind of that price thing. I don't mind dropping down to him in tournaments on FanDuel. 9,900 is kind of a discount from Sale and Straws, so it kind of gets you an extra hitter there.
Definitely.
Shields on the other side. This Giants team I'm just not really fond of picking on just because their strikeout rate is so low. And they just kind of chip away at you. I mean, even when they don't do well, they don't allow a ton of upside.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I want to play Shields, but I just think it's probably better not to tonight.
I mean, he's pitched well of late. But I think a guy like Gray has a little bit more upside.
Yeah.
For me. Last 2 more games. Dodgers and Angels. Ross Stripling, Chacin, our boy, pitching for the Angels there. Over under of 8, LA minus 121. We start to work into the cheaper SP2 options on DraftKings, and I mean, Chacin's interesting. I mean, if he can get you around that 15 mark and pick up a win in GPPs, I don't absolutely hate it, especially if you can pair him up with Sale. I think he'd be the guy out of this late games I feel the most comfortable with.
Definitely. Yeah. In terms of guys under 6K on DraftKings, I mean, beggars can't be choosers. I think he does have a decent chance at upside against a Dodgers lineup that's kind of struggled. So I think there's interesting upside there.
Yeah. I mean, you look on FanDuel. I mean, I just think with Gray at 6,900, that just takes everyone else out of play down low. They just don't have that upside that he does.
Yeah.
And on the other side, Stripling, not a guy I'm looking at. This Angels offense is quietly starting to come around a little bit, especially over the last 2 weeks or so. And once again, they don't strike out of 10 either. So Stripling really doesn't have any upside or any real safe floor to kind of target tonight.
Pass. Yeah, we're passing.
Yankees and Athletics, Sarah Nova, Kendall Graveman, over under of 8. You got the wind blowing out 20 miles an hour out to right in this game, which is kind of intriguing for hitters if you wanted to do a little bit of a contrarian kind of stack. And I don't mind really both these teams as far as hitters go, and I just think I'm staying away from guys like Graveman and Nova.
Yeah, you give Nova a quick look for a second, and then you start to say, all right, no, I can't actually do this to myself today. Yeah, some days I can do it to myself, but I'm not doing it today.
He's struggled with lefties over the last few years, and this A's team, which is heavily left-handed, and plus Chris Davis and Danny Valencia are just absolutely on fire right now. So it's kind of one where I'm staying away.
Right.
So that's going to wrap things up with the pitcher nail down. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all our great tools and content.